Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, but for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We're glad that you all could be with us. Also, tuning in through our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcasts. We're glad you all could be with us as well. I'm so excited to welcome back Jim Piddock to our program today. You guys know Jim, of course, as an actor. He's been a part of some great projects over the years, but he's also the author of a book I had a chance to read that came out this year called Caught with My Pants Down and Other Tales from a Life in Hollywood. We're going to talk to Jim not only about his amazing journey in Hollywood, but also what it's been like for him to reflect on how he got there, what it's been like for him to do what he loves, and now to share that experience with all of you. Jim, thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Very happy to be here.
Well, Jim, I was just saying to you, it's hard to believe it's been 9 years since you were on, and I'm going to jog your memory real quick and tell you when you were on. You were on talking about HBO's Family Tree at the time, when the last time that we talked, and it just is one example of the amazing projects you've been with over the years that you kind of chronicle in Caught with My Pants Down. What has this experience been like for you, Jim, to have been able to bring to life these different characters and now to tell us the story behind those?
Well, the book was kind of an interesting thing for me because I don't normally look backwards. I always look forwards or right in front of me. It's the timing of it was perfect because I just sort of thought about doing a book because I'd done a talk for the Screen Actors Guild and it had gone rather well, and I told some stories, and I thought, these stories are kind of fun. I'll put them into a book. And then the pandemic hit, so what would have probably taken me 5 years took me 5 months. So it was an interesting experience, but it is odd. I mean, to stop the merry-go-round and get off and sort of look around you a bit, and because we all run through life at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I think that was the only real upside of the pandemic, is that it enabled us to do that a bit and sort of take stock and reset and reboot.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, for so many of us, again, we know you from the roles, Jim, but to be able to see the stories behind it is so interesting. And we see not only your own experience with life in Hollywood, but just life in general. So did you know going in that you were going to be so open and transparent about your experiences to get where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted it to be a book for people that are interested in show business, who are in show business. That's obvious, but more than that, I was really keen for it to have an appeal beyond that. To me, it's a book for everyone, and that's what's been so encouraging. The book only came out a week and a half ago. The response from people who have nothing to do with show business, not even that interested in it, has been just so heartening. I mean, people relating to it who I would have thought would never relate to it. But that's really because I think I just wanted stories there that were good stories and that were fun stories and that were stories that had impactful value in terms of life and death and love and all the things that we go through in life. And that's what's nice, is that it feels like people can relate to my 65 years on the planet and having a fairly bizarre and exciting kind of up and down life. That was really a very pleasant surprise. And when I set out, as I say, I was really just wanted to entertain people. And then it suddenly became, there's some bit of philosophy here. And then I kind of realized there's a bit of life wisdom. It's not a self-help book, believe me, but that was kind of a very pleasant surprise.
Well, I think, the other thing is the lessons that you've been able to learn, that you're able to impart in the book as well. And I think that is one of the things that I really appreciate. I think, one of those things that you mentioned in the chapter, Finger Up My Nose, Jim, I wanted to share, and because I think it is one of those things that I myself believe and have tried to live by. It was a quote someone had said to you: look around whatever room you find yourself in, and if you think you're not the smartest person in that room, then go and sit next to the person who is. And that seems to be a big thing for you, Jim, to not feel like you have to be the biggest star in the room, or the person with the biggest role. Where do you think that comes from? You're being comfortable with who you are.
I don't know. Well, first of all, I should credit that advice was from Harold Ramis, who was a master of that. I don't. I've always enjoyed being part of an ensemble. I have a healthy ego, like a lot of people do. I grew up and I was very much an introvert, so often introverts go into acting or some sort of form of entertainment because they want to be seen and heard, and it's the only way they can kind of do it. But I've never. I don't know. I'm happy and I love people who give other people space and time. So that's kind of always a thrill to me when you can sort of step into the spotlight, have your thing and say, and then step aside and let someone else do it. I've never had any desire to dominate and sort of be the loudest voice in the room or the center of everybody's attention. I think it's my personality, and surprisingly, I think a lot of actors are like that. They're quite generous in terms of give and take, and then there's others that aren't. It's all about me, and that's less interesting to me. It's less interesting career-wise to work with those people, and in life, I'm less drawn to be around those people. I think it's, we need to interconnect with ideas and share things, and that means sharing kind of limelight as well.
Yeah, and there are some unfortunately some dark parts of the book as well, Jim, and you share those too. The things that you yourself have gone through. The loss of friends. You mentioned, of course, Duncan Gibbons and your experiences with Duncan. Talk to us about that. And how those have helped to shape you, and also, even as we see in the book, I believe, and I'm curious to see your thoughts, help you appreciate life.
Well, I think, obviously nobody has a charmed life. Everybody has a price to pay for something, and no one gets through unscathed or uncut. I just wanted to be sort of brutally honest about what the ups and the downs that I've gone through, even though the book is mostly, as you know, lighthearted, and I kind of have a fairly not cavalier, but a lighthearted approach to life. I like to try and find the humor in anything. So those moments, they do stick with me. And being a repressed male Brit, it was quite therapeutic to talk about some of these things. My daughter and several people who I'm very close to said, I had no idea that this happened to you, or this was what was going on. So in that sense, it is a sort of tell-all. I think those dark experiences of losing someone, or I think I talk about the low points in my career when you sort of experience things you don't want to experience. One of which I talk about is when I first moved to LA, I'd had a very good run on Broadway, and I was quite well known in New York. And suddenly I was sort of starting again. It was quite humbling. And a lot of my contemporaries in New York had gone on to become either film stars or had their own series. And I was sort of floundering around trying to get, a shot on a show, a guest shot on a TV show. And I experienced for the first time in my life jealousy in a large way, envy. And I hated it, and I hated it about myself. But I had to kind of embrace that in the book and go, that's actually a human emotion. We all feel that at some time or other. And hopefully our better nature controls that. But I think by talking about it and recognizing it as a natural human emotion and part of the human condition, I think that's quite therapeutic for everybody to say, okay, I hate that I feel that, but it's normal. And, as long as you keep it in check and realize that you have to compare your own life to nobody else's. You can only compete against yourself. Then it becomes a healthy thing, and we're not going around kind of being green with envy what everybody else is doing. And by the way, one of the things I do on reflection is look back. I say now, 40 years later, having experienced those emotions of extreme kind of like professional jealousy, I realize in hindsight that the vast majority of those people have suffered far more than I have. Since then, their careers have either fallen apart, they've had drug issues, they've had alcohol issues, they may be dead. Very few people can sort of survive over the long term. And that's my journey, if anything else, is the journey of the tortoise and the hare. You know, I mean, I really have, even though there've been moments of sudden, spurts of activity in my career, it's been a real tortoise career, and it's been very steady and of steady climb. And that, to me, is very pleasing. It's very pleasing. All I wanted to do was have a long career, and I've been very lucky to have that.
Yeah. Last thing I want to talk to you about, then we're going to let our audience know what you're doing with the proceeds of this book, Jim, is talk to you about Chapter 30, I Know You From Somewhere. I love your reflection on that and being recognized and people doing what happens sometimes. You know, I know you from, and then your response, I'm an actor, so maybe there's that, and then going through and finding the roles. What keeps that from getting old for you? Because, I mean, I've seen these other interviews you've been doing, even talking about the book, and even before the book's official launch, and people have their favorite thing, of course, they know you from. What is it that keeps that exciting for you?
Because it doesn't happen so much that it's invasive in my life. I'm terribly fortunate in that I'm right in the middle. People sort of recognize me, but they're not sure where from. Do I work at the local kind of bookshop? Do I work at the haberdashery? I don't know, whatever it is. And so, or my kids at the same school, whatever. And then we usually figure it out. But it happens enough to make me feel that what I do is worthwhile, and occasionally stroke the ego and go, oh, okay, maybe I have entertained a few people in my life and it hasn't been entirely wasted. So that's lovely. But it doesn't happen enough, and I know many very famous people, and they all unanimously, 100% say the same thing. They don't mind the money, but they hate the fame. They hate it. And I get that. I've seen it. It's very destructive. It's not good for you personally to become too famous, and it impacts your life. I like to shuffle down to the grocery store in my shorts and T-shirt without having, brushed my hair or whatever. And I don't mind if someone sees me. That's great, and whatever. But that's the thing. I mean, I am caught in that netherworld of sort of nobody really. Some people know my name, but a lot of people don't. But most people know my face, and almost everybody has seen what I've either been in or written. Almost 100%, given the 44 years of it. So that's kind of nice. So it doesn't bother me. I'm very lucky that I have my cake and eat it, as it were, in terms of the fame issue.
Yeah. Love that. And, Jim, I love the fact that you're able to give us a book like this. I want to say, for those who have not gotten it, I'm talking to Jim Piddock. His book is called Caught with My Pants Down and Other Tales from a Life in Hollywood. You probably have seen the cover somewhere. If you have, you will not forget it. It is definitely a memorable cover. I got mine through Amazon.com. And, Jim, you're doing something great with this book. Talk to our audience about the proceeds, where it's going.
Well, originally I was giving the proceeds to two charities I care about, one in the US and one in the UK, that both nurture young people from underprivileged backgrounds and give them some opportunities that they would never otherwise have. And they're both doing incredible work. The one's the BAFTA, which is the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, their Access for All program in the US. And the other is Palace for Life Foundation in South London. It gets kids out of gangs and off the streets and into physical activities and creative activities. So they're both that. But then I was going to keep a little portion for myself, but then all this stuff we've been seeing on the news about Ukraine was so distressing. And I felt like, if nothing else, this book, I felt almost guilty that I had this sort of book and I was going around talking about it. It seems so trivial, but I think we do need entertainment in times like this, and we need a balance to deal with stuff like the Ukraine situation and absorb it and try and help it. And so I decided that not only would I continue promoting the book to entertain people, but also I would give my share of the proceeds from the book to Ukrainian refugees. So basically, all the money now is going to charities, which is fine. That's fine. It's not what I do for a living. I'm not an author by profession. It was written with love, and it was a labor of love, and I put my heart and soul into it, and so I don't need to profit from it.
Well, Jim, we appreciate all that you've been able to do to entertain us, but also I think to inspire us as well. And this book is another way then we can show our appreciation then as your fans and supporters to be able to do that and to know we're also supporting something great in the process. So I definitely invite our audience to go to Amazon and get your copy of Caught with My Pants Down and Other Tales from a Life in Hollywood by Jim Piddock. Make sure you guys get the book, know that you're supporting great causes. And Jim, what about you? How can our audience stay connected with you, though?
I'm on www.jimpiddock.com, whatever, just jimpiddock.com. I'm at Real Jim Piddock on Twitter. No, at Real Jim Piddock on Twitter and at Jim Piddock on Instagram. So at Real Jim Piddock Twitter, at Jim Piddock. Oh God, I'll get it right. On Instagram. One thing, well, you'll find it. Just type it in, Jim Piddock Twitter, you'll get that. Jim Piddock Instagram, you can get it. And I'll connect with you unless you look like or sound like a serial killer. One thing I would just say is if you do buy the book, please, please, please rate and review it on Amazon, because that helps enormously in terms of Amazon promoting and recommending the book. And, of course, that will raise more money for the charities. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Jim, we'll make sure that we do that as well. Jim, thank you again for the time. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to having you back on the program again.
My pleasure. Let's not leave it so long next time.
All right. Okay. You got it. You got it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live, and let's go make today amazing. Take care.